Hi there, in this video I'm going to give you 7 tips to how to take better monochrome photographs. What I've been doing recently is trying to challenge myself to take some different styles of photography, and I've really got into taking monochrome photographs. It's become quite addictive, in fact, and it all started after I heard a guy called Adrian Beasley on a podcast who's a mono expert talking about how he takes photographs in monochrome, and it makes him think in completely different ways. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to give you 7 tips on how to improve your monochrome photography. I'm going to show you some of my photographs, and I'm also going to say why it's really made me enjoy my photography. Now, the first thing to do is to train yourself to see in monochrome. Now, this is quite difficult because we see the world in colour and cameras are initially set up to take photographs in colour, but there are a couple of things you can do to just aid the process of seeing in mono. And the first thing is very simple. It's just to squint your eyes ever so slightly so you're looking through nearly closed eyes, and then all of the contrasts become much clearer and you can see the lights and darks and they stand out more, so you can instantly tell whether something will make a good mono image. But then also the camera can be set into mono mode. Now, this is not a destructive process. It just shows you a monochrome version on the viewfinder or on the back of the camera. But if you take your photographs in RAW, the RAW file will still have full color, so you can then edit that after you've taken the photograph. So once you start to look through the camera and only see black and white, then you focus more on the tonal range. A lot of colours have a very similar brightness, and so when you turn the image to black and white, the colours just blend together and you don't see a lot of difference. So it forces you to look for lots of different contrasts, and this can help to accentuate pattern and texture. That leads me on to number 2, which is to actually search for patterns, shapes and textures, because they can become really interesting mono images. Textures that don't really stand out very much in colour can really pop when you put them into black and white, and it can really isolate patterns as well, so you only focus on the light and dark areas and just make the whole pattern much more vivid. Also, keep an eye out for interesting juxtapositions or striking patterns that can be really used to grab the attention of the viewer's eye. Number 3 is one of the most important aspects of black and white photography, and that is tonal contrast. Because once you turn an image into mono, then the only thing that can tell the story and set the mood is the contrast between the different tones. Some images can be strong and punchy with a strong definition of contrast, while others can be soft and subdued and give a more gentle image. Now, basically, you've got 3 different types of contrast to play with: high, medium and low. A high contrast image is going to have a big difference between the whites and the blacks, so it's very, very punchy. A medium contrast image is going to have a good range of tones, so you've got some whites, some mid-tones and some really strong blacks, and the overall image is going to be very balanced. And then you can take low contrast images where it might actually be very, very grey, but this can often appear washed out, and I tend to avoid these kind of mono images. The quality of the lighting is important in any photograph you take, but once you take away the colour, then the mood and the efficacy of the lighting becomes really much more distinctive. Now, the good thing about taking photographs in monochrome is that you can take photographs in really harsh lighting conditions. In a lot of cases, it's actually more effective. So normally you wouldn't take photographs in bright sunlight, but it's a great time to take monochrome photographs because you get such a strong contrast between the brights and the dark parts of the images. Now, depending on what type of image you're trying to get, an overcast day will produce very subdued light and it's going to result in a dull and flat kind of image. But if you take pictures in the middle of the day, you're going to get sharp contrast, and this can make monochrome images look really punchy. So the key is to go out at different times of day and experiment with different types of light to see what works for you and what suits the type of image you're trying to create. Tip number 6 is trying to experiment with high and low key images. Now, as photographers, we tend to try and capture a whole range of tones in our images to make them stand out, but you can push the tones to one end of the histogram and take a mainly white image or a mainly dark image, and this is what we call high key and low key, and it can create some really quite effective results if you have a lot of one tone in the image. Now, you still have to have some mid-tones or a few other dark images if you do a high key, or some light parts if you've got a low key, just so you can see the difference between the different areas. But pushing all of the tones to one end of the histogram can be very effective. So the best thing to do with this type of photography is just to experiment. Try to take some things in high key and low key, and you'll start to get used to seeing what might work in different situations. So tip number 6 is to think about the relationship between the elements in your composition. When you've got colour going on in the image, then you can often find that some colour in the background can become distracting and draw your eye away from a foreground element, but that goes away when you take the image into mono, because it's then all about the relationship between the shapes and the tones within the image. So a strong foreground can work on its own, even with a slightly more busy background, or you might choose to put the background out of focus, but you really start to see how all the elements belong together. And in a way, it really does help your colour photography as well, because then you start to see things in a much more simplistic way. So for tip number 7, what I've done is I've come inside onto the computer, because the final step is knowing how to edit your monochrome photographs to get the best out of them. Now, obviously it's important to get a good capture and spot something that will work well as a monochrome image, but unless you do the right things with it in post-processing, then it will still end up being flat and you'll miss out on a lot of potential. So I'm going to show you how to get the most out of your monochrome image in editing. So here is an image that I knew would work well, because when I looked at it on the mono preview through the viewfinder, I could see good contrast between the spots of water and the leaf patterns. So I knew it would work well, but it needs a little bit of help still. So before we put it into Photoshop properly, we're going to do a little bit of raw conversion. And what I want to do is really boost the contrast before I put it into Photoshop. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just lift the exposure ever so slightly, but I'm then going to select certain parts of the image. I'm going to choose a brush and I'm going to make the leaf area brighter. So I'm just going to apply a mask over the leaf area and I'm going to brighten that up. Now, near the edges, I want that to not be obvious that that's been lightened. So I'll make sure I go right to the edge, and I can probably go a little bit brighter than that. Probably about there, but probably I can also reduce the shadows, and that will also boost the contrast, because what I'm doing is I'm thinking of how this will appear in mono, not how it appears in color. Now, I do find this background really distracting, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to darken that right down. So I'm going to create a new mask. I'm going to use a brush to paint the mask over the background area. Now, I'm not being too fussy, it really doesn't matter, because there is quite a nice shadow around the edge of this leaf. And then I'm just going to take the exposure right down to make it almost black there in that background. So it has just gone over the background. What I can do is I can press the Alt key and that will then subtract from that mask, and I can just go around the edge of the leaf just to make sure it's not being darkened in any way, but I'm quite happy with that. Now I am aware that there's a few highlights here in the background, but I can deal with that afterwards. And then the final thing that I'm going to do just before we put it into Photoshop is I'm just going to increase the texture and the clarity just to give an extra bit of punch to this image. So I've brought the image into Photoshop. What I'm going to do is a little bit of a crop to improve the composition just so it's a little bit tighter. Now also when I'm doing this crop, I'm just being aware that I don't want to cut in half any water drops. So the ones at the top and on the left have not been cut in half, and then I'm going to bring the bottom up so that one that was cut in the bottom left hand corner is not cut in half as well. Then I'm going to bring the edge in and that I think will improve the composition. So now we're going to convert this image to monochrome. Now there are quite a lot of different ways of doing this. I'm going to show you a bad way and then a much better way of doing it. So the bad way is literally just to strip out all of the colour. And we can do this by adding a hue and saturation adjustment level, and then we just slide down the saturation slider and that takes out all of the colour. But the problem with this is it doesn't give you a lot of control over the image that you get, and so we're going to just save that layer, but I'm going to make it invisible by turning it off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the better way, which is to apply a black and white adjustment layer. Now that looks almost the same to start with, but you've got a lot more control over how the image looks because you've got all of these sliders here that will affect different color values. And what I found is if I lift the yellows, I get some of the highlights showing up, but then if I drop the greens, it creates a really 3D effect, and it makes the whole image really pop so much more. A lot of the other sliders have very little effect. You can see me moving the red slider now. Because there are no red tones in the image, it doesn't really affect the image. And the same with the cyan and the blue and the magenta. So it's only really the green and the yellow sliders that will affect this image. So you can see what a difference it makes between the image that I've had control over compared with the image that's just had the color stripped out. What I've done now is I've opened the image into Luminar Neo just to give a final few edits. I'm going to add a little bit of enhancement that'll just pick out even more texture. I'm going to add a little bit of structure. Now you've got to be very careful with this because it can go too far and look too fake, but it just picks up some of those little hairs around the edge. Now I'm also going to just reduce the highlights ever so slightly because some of these water droplets do look like they're burning out, and that just brings back a little bit of detail in them. Finally, what I like to do with most images is just add a little bit of a vignette to just push the viewer's eye towards the center, and I think that I'm going to call that done. So I did mention these highlights down in the bottom corner, so what I'm going to do is just paint those out. So I'm going to select a brush from over in the tool palette, then I'm going to hold down Alt and just click on this background black so I pick up that color, and I'm just going to paint over these highlights just to remove them so they're not a distraction. And it almost makes this now look like a studio shot. Now, if you haven't taken photographs in mono before or haven't done it for a while, then I'd encourage you to give it a go because I found it really interesting and almost addictive. I found myself taking more monochrome photographs recently than I've been taking color photographs just because I really enjoy looking for the patterns. And certainly if you're doing macro work, it can really focus you to look for patterns and the interactions between different parts of the image. So give it a go and let me me know how it goes. If you have enjoyed this video, do let me know down below in the comments, or you can nip over to my Instagram or Vero account and leave me your comments there. And you can also see lots of my photographs. Now, if you like what I do on the channel and want to help support me to make future content like this, then you can leave at the gift shop, and that's at Teespring. Over there I've got a range of merchandise on offer, and a purchase really helps me out and it's very much appreciated. But you don't have to spend any money at all to support the channel. You can do that simply by clicking like, subscribe and the bell notifications. That way you stay up to date with all my future releases, and it really helps the channel out as well. Watch out for next week's video. That goes live on Sunday. In the meantime, you can go and check out this video just up here. But all that's left now is to say stay safe, and I'll see you soon.